The most valuable company in artificial intelligence is building its own power plants. Not because it wants to, because it cannot get an electrical outlet. It has the chips, it has the money, it has everything you would need, except permission to plug in. This is not a video about whether data centers are good or bad. It is a video about why the richest companies on Earth cannot finish building one. Everyone counts chips. You have heard those numbers all year. OpenAI plans more than 9 gigawatts of capacity by 2029 across 7 sites. So you would assume the limit is silicon. It is not. Chips arrive in weeks. Then they sit in a building with no power. That is buying the racing bike before you check the road exists. Because to actually run a chip, you need 3 more things. Each one takes years. There is also a 4th thing nobody put on the plan, and it is the only one that can go to 0. Start with the least interesting object in the entire industry, a transformer. A gray metal box that steps high voltage down to something a building can use. Before 2020, you could order one in about 12 to 18 months. Today, the biggest units run 3 to 5 years. Switchgear, the equipment that connects it all safely, is sold out through 2028. There is no premium you can pay to jump that. The constraint is not a price, it is a factory queue. A chip is a market. A transformer is a waiting list. So the fastest thing you can buy sits idle, waiting for the slowest thing you cannot. It is like having next-day delivery on the fridge, and yet 5 years on the plug socket to arrive and power it. Say you win the transformer. You still cannot switch anything on. You now need a connection to the grid, and you have to apply for it. In Northern Virginia, Phoenix, and Dallas, that queue runs 4 to 7 years. You do not get served faster by being important. You get a position number. And here is the part everyone misses. Those 2 waits do not run side by side neatly. They stack. Nobody in that queue is being obstructive. The utility is doing studies that genuinely take that long. Every applicant ahead of you had the same idea in the same 18 months. That is what a shared constraint looks like. It gets slower the more people want it. Between 1/3 and 1/2 of the US data centers planned for 2026 have been delayed or canceled. Of about 16 gigawatts announced for this year, only about 5 are actually under construction. So after you receive the plug, you need to wait for the electricity to be turned on. Your fridge has probably spoiled by the time everything is up, similar to how these chips will turn obsolete by then. Now the 4th input, the one nobody costed: permission. In the first months of 2026, about $130 billion of projects were blocked or delayed. More than 75 of them, that is roughly the entire total for all of 2025, in a few months. There are 833 active opposition groups across 49 states. More than 300 data center bills appeared in the first 6 weeks of the year. 14 states proposed moratoriums. In July, New York became the first state to actually pass one. In January 2026, Naperville, Illinois rejected a project 6 votes to 1. In June, San Marcos, Texas banned them from every zoning district in the city. A transformer queue is a delay. You wait, then you get it. A vote is a wall. There is no position number. The answer can simply be no. It is the logic of buying a concert ticket before you get approval from your boss for the day off. So look at what OpenAI has actually got running, and count it yourself. At Abilene, Texas, roughly 0.3 gigawatts is operational. 4 buildings out of 8, against a plan of more than 9 gigawatts. An expansion at that same site, about 2.1 gigawatts, was pulled and redirected elsewhere. Their own executives are blunt about the result. The chief financial officer has said they are turning down business because they do not have the compute. Their president has said they will remain in this compute shortage no matter what. Read that again. It is not a chip shortage. It is a shortage of places to switch chips on. They have hired a whole kitchen staff before the landlord has answered the phone. And the way out of it is the strangest sentence in modern infrastructure. If you cannot make the slow step faster, you go around it. That is exactly what is happening in Texas. The Texas sites are being built with their own on-site natural gas generation. They are not simply waiting in the public queue, they are building private power generation next to the servers. The sites in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio still rely on grid power. Those are the ones exposed to the queue. One company, 2 strategies, split by geography. This is not a scandal. It is an ordinary engineering answer to an extraordinary weight. It is also expensive, and it only works where the fuel and the land already are. Notice what changed. They stopped trying to win the queue and remove themselves from it. When you cannot speed up the constraint, you route around it. It is ordering the aquarium and then quietly digging your own well. I have watched a company spend heavily to speed up the step that was never the problem. A few videos back, I took apart a machine production factory. Same client, second problem. If you missed that one, the link is on screen for later. They chased their suppliers to bring raw materials faster, thinking that if input increased, output would increase since everything they needed would be available. What happened was just more inventory stacked up, waiting to rot. What they needed instead was suppliers pre-processing their parts for them, making it ready for assembly, arriving on time. These minor changes cost them nothing to edit the specifications of their order, yet reduced additional processing time on each machine by 1 man-day. Free gains just by thinking outside the traditional route and working around the old process. Here is why this matters at your desk on Monday. Total throughput is set by the slowest step, not the average one and not the exciting one. So any money you spend speeding up a step that is not the constraint buys you nothing. It is the most expensive mistake in operations, and almost everyone makes it. You buy the faster laptop when the real wait is your approval to act on the task. You hire 2 more people when the bottleneck is one decision nobody will make. You automate the report when the delay is the sign-off after it. Go and find the step everything else waits behind. Then ask a harder question. Ask which of your inputs can go to 0, not just go slow. Everyone counted the chips. The people who finish first are counting transformers and power grids. 5 parts, 1 card. 1. Chips arrive in weeks, so they were never the limit. 2. Transformers take 3 to 5 years, and money does not move that queue. 3. Grid connection takes 4 to 7 more, and you only get a position. 4. Consent was never on the plan, and it is the input that can go to 0. 5. When you cannot speed the constraint up, you route around it. Which is why there are gas turbines outside a building full of silicon. This video was about a system that cannot be built fast enough. The next one is about a system that was never rebuilt at all. Software 2 decades old, running quietly, until one holiday week asked it a question it could not answer. 16,700 flights canceled, around 2 million people stranded. Nobody skipped an upgrade on purpose. That is what should worry you. If you want to get better at how work actually works, subscribe. 1 teardown a week. That teardown is on your screen right now.